We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A new world order.
Child sex trafficking.
The deep state is trying to destroy Donald Trump's presidency.
Loose the battle plans of heaven.
It's all about control.
Broadcasting live to the world now. It's the Weekend Vigilante, Sheila Zilinsky.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sheila Zilinsky Show for this September 28th, 2017 edition. So glad you could tune into the program today, and I hope you are listening to the program on our amazing customized app. That's right, the Weekend Vigilante app is for all smart devices. That's iPhone, Android, and it is a customized app for you, the listener. Well, I have great news. On Monday, I am launching the website. Our customized media player is now complete. Everything is looking fantastic. So I'm really excited because I'm going to give out the website on the Monday show, and I want you to check it out, and I want your feedback. So I think you're going to be very happy with that. So again, Monday is the big website launch. I'm really excited about that. I'm excited to be able to update my end time news headlines, which are going to be really important because it's always going to be news and world events under a biblical worldview. I think it's going to be, well, one of the most sought after end time news feeds for Christians out there. So I'm really anxious to be updating that. There was a glitch on the old website and it's been fixed now. And so I'm really looking forward to your feedback. So that will be announced on Monday, and I'm very excited about that. And hey, if you did not have a chance to listen to a show I did this week, it's kind of an NFL smackdown. I'm really hoping that you guys go back and listen to that show. I was really surprised to get as much men, lifetime NFL watching males, responded to that video. I got a lot of emails about it, and they said, Sheila, that was probably the best breakdown I've heard. So I was really happy to hear that. So I do hope you guys check that out. And speaking of happy, I'm happy to have on this guest. We're really going to get into something I've wanted to talk about for a while today, and I'm really excited about this show. So he is a world-renowned doctor, and I'll tell you, there's not too much about the world of health. Move over, Dr. Oz. Actually, I don't even like Dr. Oz, to be honest. He's been a very good friend of the program, and it is such a pleasure to have him back on. We're going to do an amazing show today. Dr. Ted Broer, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you back on.
Sheila, thank you so much for having me on again. In fact, today I want to talk a lot about health. I want to talk about burning body fat and burning cellulite. And yes, there are some things you can actually do to burn cellulite. We got a lot of information to cover today about, the truth about the paleo diets, what's going on as far as the real way to lose weight, keep body fat down, and all of this misinformation that people are being given on a regular basis in the United States as far as diet and health, and a ketogenic diet's good. There's all kinds of things that you need to learn, and we're going to teach them to you today on how to really feel good and look good all the days of your life. I'll be 62 years old in a few weeks, and I feel absolutely wonderful. I'm going to give you my key secrets to working out and to keeping body fat levels at a very low level my entire life. And it'll be something that'll make a lot of sense to you guys today when you're listening, Sheila. So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about coming up on today's show. So everybody, if you can, if it's safe for you to, grab a paper and pencil because you're going to want to take some notes on this one. It's that important.
Very important. And I'm really excited to have you share the secrets of weight loss, some good health hacks, Ted. I mean, not being active myself, tearing my lateral meniscus last year in September, I've really packed on the pounds. I know it's really time to get serious. And it's amazing. After 35, that belly fat creeps up. One thing I struggle with every week is there's some other contradictory information out there about your health. Every day there's this barrage of some new medical report. Coffee's good for you. It's not good for you. Red wine's good for you. It's not good for you. No carb, low carb, paleo, keto. I just get a headache thinking about it. Who can make sense of all this or keep up to this barrage, Ted? So I'm so excited about you sharing your secrets. So let's get into it.
Well, what we're going to do today, I'm going to talk about how you can eat clean and be healthy. In fact, we have a brand new book coming out that'll be out in about 2 months, Sheila. It's titled that. It's called Eat Clean and Be Healthy. And it's a book that's going to cover the basics of nutrition, plus some really good recipes that'll be in compliance with the stuff I'm going to give you right now. The number one thing we need to realize is that we can't overload our body with calories at one time. In other words, we don't want to eat one big meal a day, at 8 o'clock at night when you go to bed and you eat your 3,000 calories you need for the day. And all of a sudden you start wondering why you're gaining so much weight, why you're gaining so much body fat, why you're gaining so much cellulite. It doesn't work that way. The body can only effectively process between 600 and 800 calories in a single meal, after which the rest of that is either stored in the liver as glycogen or gets stored as fat. So what we have to do is realize that we can't just eat these gigantic meals on an ongoing basis and not become fat from them. We have to understand that our body's metabolism can only function with a certain amount of calories. In fact, multiple studies have been done saying that if you reduce your diet, it's called systematic undereating, and you actually reduce the calories as much as you can without losing lean muscle weight, that you actually extend your life expectancy. And that's what we've learned over the years. As you get older, I remember when I was 40 years old, I started realizing I was gaining some weight, particularly in my hips. And I started thinking, what the heck's going on with my hips? I said, this is ridiculous. And I began to realize that as you get into your 40s, as a male, your testosterone starts to decrease. And when your testosterone starts to decrease, if you're being given certain foods like soy products, or you're eating or drinking out of plastic with the bisphenol A, your estrogen levels get a little bit out of whack. Because estrogen and testosterone, what we call antagonistic in biochemistry, it starts to overtake your body and you start to become kind of feminized, with your hips, et cetera, and you start to round out. And I said, well, that's not going to work for me. So I started working and doing excessive, a lot of really hard cardio along with weight training, but about 20 or 30 minutes a day is all. And I was able to bring my testosterone levels back up to about 850 when I was in my 40s. And that really worked well as far as burning my body fat back down and really increasing lean muscle weight. In fact, I was probably as strong as I've ever been when I was in my early 40s. And so I learned that there are certain exercises you need to do and certain foods you need to eat on a regular basis and certain things you need to avoid. Like number one, never put soy in your body. I don't care if it says soy, don't put it in there. The only type of soy, if you get a little bit of soy from vitamin E or from soy lecithin, that's not that big of a deal. But if you're drinking soy milk or eating tofu, you need to avoid that stuff. Drinking a glass of soy milk is like taking 2 birth control pills a day. It's got that much estrogen in it.
Wow.
And it completely dominates the men's testosterone cycle, massively reducing testosterone and feminizing the man. And then we need to also realize that cholesterol is super important for a man, because cholesterol has to be over 200 to be able to produce adequate amounts of testosterone. When your cholesterol drops under 200, all disease rates go through the ceiling, and particularly cancer, and your testosterone falls off, because cholesterol is one of the components of the testosterone molecule. So when you don't have enough cholesterol, you can't produce enough testosterone, your brain goes to mush, you can't think clearly, you start having all kinds of health problems because of the statin drugs they're giving you, and you start having skeletal muscle necrosis, which means your skeletal muscle starts dying. You start having terrible brain fog, and it's all because your cholesterol levels are too low. In fact, a lot of people believe the onset of senile dementia is because of the use of statin drugs and, of course, the exposure to aluminum and fluoride and mercury in the environment, particularly the chemtrails in which we get to breathe aluminum directly into the olfaction system, directly into the brain every day when we go outside if they've been spraying the air. So it's one of those things. We have to do everything we can to eliminate and to avoid toxins in the environment. So number one thing we tell people, eat 6 small meals a day. That's really, really important. Now, if you want to know how many calories per meal, let's say your ideal body weight's 120 pounds, Sheila. You times that by 10. That means 1,200 calories a day. That'd be your minimum caloric intake per day. You divide that by 6. So you'd have 6 200-calorie meals per day. So you spread them 2 or 3 hours apart. If you want to weigh 180 pounds, you'd be at 1,800 calories a day, and you divide that by 6, and you have 300 calories 6 times a day. And as you get used to eating like that, kind of like grazing, and you stay away from high glycemic foods, it makes it very easy to start burning body fat and cellulite. Now, one of the other things I tell folks is staying away from high glycemic foods. High glycemic foods are like pasta and rice and potatoes and fruit juice and dried fruits. They really need to be avoided if you're trying to lose weight. Number one, they're loaded with calories. Number two, they elevate blood sugar way too high, way too fast. So when that happens, your body's got to store those extra calories from sugar back into fat, because your body can only handle so much from the liver. So you have to get off of the high glycemic carbohydrates. Instead of eating a baked potato, eat a baked sweet potato. They're much lower glycemic. In fact, a baked potato, a white potato, has a higher glycemic index, which means it's turned to sugar more quickly in your body than a tablespoon of sugar does. I mean, so you really have to avoid the high glycemic foods. And then there's some products you've got to take. We developed a product many years ago. In fact, it's our #1 bestseller at Health Masters, and that's our website, healthmasters.com, and it's called HGH Stimulate. And it's a product that is specifically designed to help women to burn cellulite increase lean muscle mass, which it also does that for men, and it acts like a natural Viagra in men. And a lot of women say it does the same thing for them as far as from a libido standpoint. So guys, it's so important that you understand that you've got to keep your human growth hormone levels up. I take the HGH Stimulate 2 scoops a day every single day. It's amazing what it does as far as stimulating the pituitary gland to release human growth hormone. This is not injectable human growth hormone. My product doesn't contain any human growth hormone. It contains a product called citrulline, which in the citrulline is an amino acid which helps the body's pituitary gland to release huge quantities of human growth hormone if it's combined with folate. And so this is what we have in quercetin. That's the antioxidant we put in there. So this is what this product is. It has no HGH in it. That's why it's called HGH Stimulate. It stimulates the body's own production of human growth hormone, which in turn helps to burn body fat, burn cellulite, and massively increase lean muscle. In fact, if you start using this product twice a day, it acts like a natural Viagra in men because of the nitric oxide release. And secondly, it gets you so strong in the gym. So it's amazing to me when I have my friends come into the gym, that are teenagers and they can't curl 50 pounds, and I can still do that. It's because I've maintained my lean muscle mass. Because guys, remember, we lose about 7% of our lean muscle mass every 10 years as guys if we don't exercise with resistance training on a regular basis, about 7%. And it's so very important that you continue to train and exercise every single week, at least 3 to 5 times a week, but no more than 20 to 30 minutes a day. We train 6 days a week, and we do it for about 20 to 30 minutes. That's it. My chest workout takes me about 7 to 12 minutes. My shoulder workout takes me 7 to 12 minutes. So I'm literally out of the gym within 25 minutes doing chest and shoulders. And I do that twice a week. I work each body part twice a week. And what it allows me to do is not get burned out at being in the gym. When I was young, I didn't know any better. This is back when I was a teenager, and I hadn't yet had a minor in exercise physiology, and I hadn't yet spent 400 hours in the biochemical genetics lab at Florida State. So I didn't understand the mechanics of working out. When you work out too much and you're in the gym too long, you elevate cortisol, which is a muscle wasting hormone. And so you can actually start decreasing your muscle mass and not make the gains that you need to by overtraining. That's really important that people understand that. The guys who go into the gym for 3 to 4 hours, 3 or 4 times a week, it's just complete and total waste of time. You don't need to do that. I'll never forget, I had entered a bodybuilding contest at Florida State, and I entered the Mr. Tallahassee contest. And I don't really talk about this because it's been 40 years ago. And what was interesting about that, I won that contest. And the week after I had won that contest, I went down to Central Florida to watch the Mr. Florida contest, which I almost entered that contest also. And I did it all naturally, Sheila. I never took a steroid. Not one time my whole life did I ever take any type of injections or growth-promoting drugs or anything prescription anytime. I've never done that. And I remember the following week, I went down to the Mr. Florida contest, and there was a bodybuilder. His name was Broer Joins. Guy was very heavy in the steroids, and he started talking to me about my workout and basically told me that I was overtraining and I was doing way too much exercise for the amount of recuperation time I was giving my body. And he gave me a workout program that I actually have on my DVD series, this exercise program for men. It's for beginning, intermediate, and advanced exercise for men, and we have the same series for women. And the advanced protocol that I have on that DVD series is the same one that Broer Joins gave me back in 1976. And it was amazing. Sheila, I actually decreased my time in the gym, decreased how many days a week I was training, and my chest went from like 44 to 48 within just a few months doing that workout. And my chest workout ended up being 12 minutes long. Very high intensity, very short duration, superset workout. And so I learned over the years, it's not the duration of the stimulus, it's the intensity that makes you have maximum muscle growth and releases a lot more testosterone and a lot more human growth hormone. So it's very important that people realize that overtraining is actually worse for you than not training at all. You can actually cause more damage, especially if you're using heavy weights and you get older, especially with joints, etc. Now, walking and those types of things are also great, and the little mini trampolines are also great. So far we've covered stay away from high glycemic foods, take your supplements. Now, some other supplements you can take too to burn body fat, and we have these all available at the website. You can take CLA, which is a phenomenal product to burn body fat, a true CLA, along with the HGH Stimulate. Then I also recommend the testosterone stack for guys if you're over 40 and you're working out and you want to start training, or if you have a lowered libido. The testosterone stack gives you about 5 different supplements that massively increases testosterone without having to take injectable testosterone or even take the lozenges. It really, really works well. We've had tremendous results with it, and it'll really help you to burn body fat. Now, the other thing you have to realize is you got to watch your water intake. You've got to make sure you drink at least half your body weight in fluid ounces per day. Now, what does that mean? If you weigh 200 pounds, that means you drink 100 ounces of water a day. So you drink 10 10-ounce glasses throughout the day. Now, you don't want to sit there and guzzle water all day because you're just going to be running to the bathroom. You want to spread it out throughout the day and stay with it throughout the day and avoid fluorine and chlorine in the water supply. And let me tell you why. We've got major problems with thyroids in the United States. And one of the reasons this happens is this. They put fluorine and chlorine in the water supply. These are both halogens. The body thinks that they're iodine in the thyroid, and they absorb the fluorine and the chlorine into the thyroid gland. Also, there's a lot of other things as far as causing increase of senile dementia and everything else. Also, it causes liver cancer and bladder cancer. But what we have to understand is that when you start messing with the thyroid, which helps to really keep the body lean and burn body fat, it starts to affect it negatively. That's why we also have a very good thyroid support for people having issues with their thyroid. But you have to stay away from the fluorine and the chlorine, and you've got to stay away from bromide. Bromide's used in bread products. The problem with it is, again, your body thinks it's iodine. And so it absorbs the bromine into the thyroid gland, which prevents the release of thyroxine, which helps to burn body fat. And what ends up happening, you start to mess up your own basal metabolic rate and you start getting fat. That's one of the reasons that you have to stay away from bread. You know, I'll occasionally eat some bread or eat a piece of toast or eat some whole grain bread that's organic that doesn't have the bromines in it. But you've got to stay away from the store-bought stuff, that's the white bread or even the whole wheat bread that contains the bromide. It's critical. I can't stress that enough. Plus, it's very high glycemic. And when you start eating bread, it really has a tendency to make you gain weight very quickly. If you really want to take a fat pill, start eating pizza, start throwing bread in with cheese. And the sad part about it is that's a lot of people live on it. These guys who are 300, 400, 500 pounds, a lot of them are eating several large pizzas a day. I had a chiropractor here in Winter Haven years ago, and he weighed about 450 to 500 pounds. And I'll never forget, one day I asked him, what do you have for lunch? And he'd love to go to the buffets where he just gorge himself. And he said, I have at least 2 extra large thick crust pizzas from Pizza Hut every day with like an entire liter of soda every day for lunch, every single day himself. That's what he ate. And the problem with the high fructose corn syrup that's in almost all of those products is that when you have anything that contains high fructose corn syrup, including the bread and a lot of the processed foods that we're fed, it turns off the mechanism in the brain that tells you that you're full, and it turns on the mechanism in your brain that tells you that you're hungry. So you become like starving. This is the tendency to just really gorge yourself when you're eating high fructose corn syrup. And it also causes fatty liver disease. So you have to get away from high fructose corn syrup. You can't put it in your body in any concentrations at all because it's that bad for you, Sheila. So there's some key things that I'm telling you guys as far as supplements, about the water. And that's why we have a really good distillation system that we recommend at the office at Health Masters. And it takes all the fluorine and all the chlorine out of the water, and it gives you pure water because it actually separates through steam. It turns the water into steam, leaves all the contaminants behind. It has what's called a volatile gas vent, which releases the chlorine and the fluorine into the air, so it doesn't reprecipitate back down into the water that you're cleaning, and it goes through a charcoal filter to make the pH neutral on it. And what it does, it really allows you clean-tasting, excellent water and gets the fluorine and the chlorine out of your diet. And of course, the cardio and resistance exercise, which we mentioned earlier, shouldn't be more than 20 to 30 minutes, 4 to 5 to 6 times a week. And that helps to really maintain the muscle and the lean muscle mass. Sharon's the same thing. She works out with me 6 days a week. She's been working out with me since she was in her 20s. And my wife looks ridiculous for 60 years of age. I mean, you can look at her on the website. We practice what we preach, Sheila. We work out, we train hard, we live right, we pray every day, we do what we tell people to do, and we make sure that we cover the bases as far as our nutritional needs every single day with supplements. We have one of the top quality multiple supplements in the world. It's called the Ultimate Multiple, and it doesn't contain a bunch of binders and fillers. It's capsule and powder with a cellulose gel cap. And if you're listening to this show today and you want to support our efforts to support the show that I do with my son every day, and if you just get the multiple vitamin from us, you're going to love the product and you're going to feel better within 30 days, or you can just send the product back to me. I'll be more than happy to issue a refund to you because it's that good of a product, and you're supporting alternative radio and alternative news, and allows us to continue to get the message out about better health and tell you really what the globalists are doing. And by the way, if you've missed the broadcast that Sheila did on the NFL, you guys need to hear that broadcast because it's amazing. It's the best I've ever heard anyone talk about the NFL and them sitting down and basically not going on the field. And it's against their own policies and against their own their own rules and regulations for the NFL, for the players to have done that. But the NFL, again, is not what we think they are. And so listen to Sheila's broadcast on that. What other health topics do you want to cover today, Sheila?
Well, Ted, clear this up for me. You touched on water. Water is so huge. A lot of my friends have an Alexa Pure, a Big Berkey. You know, that's where I get confused because, you know, you think about distilled water, tap water, mineral water, groundwater, like well water, reverse osmosis water, spring water. And on top of that, my pet peeve is people walking around with bottles of water. Bottled water contains toxins, even if they're nixed BPA. There's other chemicals seeping out of the bottles, exposing to heat or sitting around for a long time. Where do you start with water, Ted?
Well, this is a very confusing issue, and a lot of people get caught up in a mess with it and get put into a ditch with it. Number one, we all know we need water. We need half our body weight in fluid ounces per day. So in other words, if you weigh 200 pounds, you need 100 ounces of water or 10-ounce glasses of water every day. That's critical. That's number one. And any type of filtration system is going to be better than having no type of filtration system. That's what I always tell people. Now, the research that I've done, here's what I've learned. The purest form of water you're going to get, period. It doesn't make any difference what anyone tells you. This is the purest one. It's distillation. Now, a lot of that also depends on what type of distiller you're using. If you have a distiller that doesn't have what's called a volatile gas vent to get the fluorine and the chlorine gas back out of the water, so you have to have a volatile gas vent. It has to be stainless steel condensing coils. Then you run it back through a charcoal filter that neutralizes the pH up to about a 7 again, where it stays between 6.8 and 7 anyhow. But you go ahead and run it back through there, you're going to get your taste out, and you store it in a stainless steel tank. That sets the benchmark for water. As far as I'm concerned, that's the best you're going to get, period. Now, some people say it's a little bit too acidic. Well, if you're concerned about that, we've got a product that's called AquaTrace, and it's a trace mineral supplement. You can put like a cap of water into your 12 gallons of water, and you can do that every couple of weeks, and then that'll take care of that if you're concerned about that. But remember, when you drink distilled water, very rarely are you going to sit and drink a big 24-ounce glass of distilled water. Like when I get up in the morning, I'll have a 24-ounce glass of distilled water, and I will put a purple stick in it, and I'll put about 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C in it, and I'll stir it up. Well, that's no longer distilled water. It started off as distilled water, so it's pure, but it's not looking for electrons anymore. It's basically alkaline pH at that point. So I don't really sit down that many times in a day and drink just big glasses of water. Now, what I will do is I'll put some lemon in them or whatever. So whenever you put something into a distilled water situation, it's no longer, quote unquote, classified as distilled. Now, distilled water can be used very well for folks from a clinical standpoint if you have elevated blood sugars or elevated blood cholesterol, as far as helping to flush the stuff out of your system. It's really good for that. So that sets the purity standard as distilled. That's what I use. And like I said, every couple of weeks, I'll put a cap full of my AquaTrace minerals inside of the holding tank, give it a few trace minerals that I may or may not be getting. Now, you don't need large amounts of trace minerals, which comes to spring water next. Spring water, you don't know what's in the spring. And now a lot of these major water manufacturers are putting spring water on the label, and they're getting it from recycled municipal wastewater. And they're saying it's spring water. Complete lies. One of the big ones got busted for that a few weeks ago. Also, you don't necessarily want groundwater to drink as far as from wells. And why? Because of glyphosate contamination, because of atrazine contamination, because of the chemicals in the runoffs from industrialized fertilizers and basically pesticides and herbicides and chemtrails. Remember this, guys, chemtrails. I mean, this stuff's going into the aquifers. A lot of times it seeps back down into the aquifer, and we have this water loaded with aluminum and barium and strontium. So we don't want that. So we want to get all that junk that we don't want out of the water. Now, then you have the reverse osmosis units. And the reverse osmosis units are good units. I'm not going to knock them. The problem you run into with those units is they're real close to distilled water, but they're still not distilled water, but they're real close to it. But the problem with them is, the main problem is that they can get contaminated membranes in them, and you get a bacteria-laden water that's even worse for you than the water that went through it to start with. So you got to make sure you change those filters out. With distillation, you don't have to do that. You just have a heating coil. And, every couple of years you got to change out a heating coil if it burns out on you. I've had them last up to 10 years. Then you have the gravity-fed filters, like the ones that you see advertised online that you put water in. They're like for emergency situations, and the water pours out of the bottom. And a lot of them have special types of filters. They do a pretty good job. And they're certainly vastly superior to drinking tap water or groundwater or well water. If you run it through those types of filters, it's going to get the vast majority of the stuff out of that water. But it's not distilled. It's not reverse osmosis. To me, the gravity-fed filters are really good in a survival type of apocalyptic setting. I have 3 of them here at home. And what I do is I've never even opened up the boxes, and I've never installed the filter cartridges. Now, if I had to drink out of my swimming pool, if I had to drink out of my lake, if I had to drink out of a pond or whatever, I would run that water through 3 separate units. That's why I got 3 of them. I'd run it through the first one to get all the major stuff out of it. I'd run it through the second one to get more stuff out of it. And I'd run it through the third one to get all the stuff out of it. I have no problem with people using these types of filters, Sheila, but they're not distilled, and they're a whole lot better than nothing. If you're out and you're in, like what I do when we have the RV out, I'll have like 20 gallons of distilled water under the RV. When we run out, I'll go to like a local grocery store that'll have an RO unit in the store, and it makes the water fresh. And I put it in the glass right there in the store. Those are okay to use if you're storing them in glass, but you don't ever want to drink water unless you know it's a BPA-free container that's been stored in plastic. It's just not healthy for you. It's like a last-minute resort. If I had water that was stored in plastic, I would also filter that through my gravity-fed filter before I drank it. I would do that. You know, if we're in an apocalyptic setting and we have no power, I would do that instantaneously. So, guys, it's really important that you do it that way. In fact, one of the things that I really tell people that live out in the communities, if they have a deep well, get a deep well hand pump. Just in case they go out of power, they can still pump fresh water out of that deep well. It alleviates a lot of problems, and it costs. They're pretty pricey. They're a couple $1,000, but that's something that I would recommend that everybody has. Because what happens if your generator fails? What happens if your backup pump fails? What happens if all of this stuff fails and we go back to 1800 and we have to have a hand pump? If we don't have that hand pump, it's not going to work. But I would take that hand pump and I'd run all that water through my gravity-fed filter to get all the atrazine, the chemicals, the byproducts, all the junk out of there, trihalomethanes, all of that junk out of the water before you drink it. It's so important. So if the only thing you're using is a gravity-fed filter, that's vastly superior to not using anything at all. But again, to me, the Cadillac of the whole deal is the distillation system. So that's what we carry at healthmasters.com. They're like $300 or $400 for a phenomenal unit that'll last you for years and years and years. If you want a big one, like I have, like a 12-gallon tank on the bottom of it that pumps water to your refrigerator and to your ice maker, and also to your like a gooseneck faucet by the sink. That's what we use here, and that's right around $2,000. And that's including the pump and the tubing and everything else. So that's a great, great unit, and it really is convenient because it stores 12 gallons of fresh water for you, so you're not running out or having to constantly fill the unit to make a gallon at a time. It does it all automatically. So that's how I look at water, and I've been studying this stuff for many, many, many years. Look at it another way, Sheila. If you take distilled water and you put 2 electrodes in it attached to a light bulb, and you try to run current through the distilled water to light the light bulb, it won't light the light bulb because the distilled water doesn't contain any electrolytes. It's completely neutral. It has nothing in it. It's perfectly pure. All the junk is out of it. If you put a drop of my Aquatrace in that water, it lights up the light bulb instantaneously because now you have electrolytes in that water. So it's one of those things. If you want the purest you're going to get, it's going to be distilled. Get yourself a distiller and make sure your water's purified. Because, guys, we know the apocalypse is on the way. We know they're about to collapse the global money supply. We know they're about to collapse the markets. We know they're going to have a high probability of going to war with Venezuela or with Korea. We know all of this stuff's about to happen. They're basically obfuscating the real news of what's happening anyhow with these bread and circus stories they give us. Yeah. But the truth is this, because there's no guarantee the United States is going to collapse in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. There's no guarantee of that. So in the meantime, while we still have power, still have electricity, let's get the highest quality filtration system we possibly can. And that's the distillation systems that we use at Health Masters. Like I said, they're relatively inexpensive. The Berkey filters are expensive. I mean, I bought 3 of them, I know. And it's one of those things that you have to understand. They are not a distillation system. Okay. They're made for a survival setting only. The same thing when you go to the grocery store and you buy water in plastic. That water in the plastic has been sitting there for sometimes years. And that plastic, in many cases, is loaded with bisphenol A, which is a female type of estrogen, which is a hormone, which can massively decrease your testosterone levels and feminize you. I mean, you don't want to drink water that's been stored in plastic for years and years and years. And you never want to drink distilled water stored in plastic because it really picks up the plastic because it's distilled water. It's so pure, it starts absorbing everything. It's like a universal solvent. That's why we used it in the chemistry labs at Florida State. So it's so important that you dispel the rumor. You don't need the pH alkaline water. You don't need all that. None of that stuff matters. You need purified water. And again, we run it through a charcoal block after it comes out of the purifier, and what that allows it to do, it really cleans, it makes it taste is amazing, and it brings the pH a little bit more alkaline. And distilled water really doesn't have a bad pH. It's around 6.8 to 7.2, and so it's not bad. It's pretty neutral for your body. Same thing with, we talked about this off the air, about using apple cider vinegar. If a person has an alkaline body chemistry, if you take your urine and you pee on a pH test strip, urinate on that, and you have like an 8.2 pH in your urine, your body's too alkaline. You need some more acidity in your body. So if you start taking apple cider vinegar and mixing it in a glass of water and drinking it a couple times a day, it'll really help you feel better, help you to lose weight. However, you have to be very careful not to get it on your teeth because it'll dissolve the enamel from your teeth. That's real important. That's number one, because it's very acidic. And number two, if your pH is like a 6.4, you're okay. But if you're like a 5.5 or a 5.8 pH on your urine, you should never, ever put apple cider vinegar or any acidic product like that into your body. It's simply not necessary because your body's already too acidic. And remember, cancer thrives in an acidic environment. Right. When you have low oxygen and high acidity, you end up in a situation where your body can get cancer very, very quickly. So be very careful with the apple cider vinegar. It's okay if you're alkaline, no problem with it whatsoever. But if you're acidic, you don't want to put it in your body, because if you have a problem with a lot of diarrhea, you're probably acidic. If you have a problem with a lot of constipation, you're probably alkaline. So those are two easy ways to test it, but the easiest and most effective way to test it, the cheapest way to do it, is go down to your drugstore, get some pH test strips, and put your urine in one, see what color it turns, and check it on the little chart on the little vial they give you, and it'll tell you exactly what your pH is, and so you'll know whether you should use the apple cider vinegar or not. And sometimes if a person has a real alkaline body chemistry and they're having a problem with acid reflux, the apple cider vinegar alone will help get rid of the acid reflux. Now, we also have a digestive enzyme that works great for that, because remember, if you use digestive enzymes, I'm not a big believer in using hydrochloric acid as far as in liquid forms to help digest food. As far as taking that, it's too dangerous because of the pH things we just talked about. But we've got a great digestive enzyme that does great for that if you have a problem with acid reflux. Because remember, when you put food into your stomach, it has to maintain a certain acidity to be digested properly. And when it gets to that certain acidic level, it's got a little circular ring at the base of the esophagus. And it closes that ring off and prevents the acid from coming back up into your throat, because it reads the pH as being acidic enough. If it's not acidic enough, or you don't have enough digestive enzymes in your gut, that ring doesn't close. It's called an esophageal sphincter, if you want the name of it. The sphincter won't close, and when you lay on your back and you go to bed with food in your stomach after you've eaten, it'll roll back up inside of your esophagus and burn. And that's why so many people start taking these antacids on a regular basis, or they start taking proton pump inhibitors, which prevent the body from producing acid in your stomach, and that massively decreases your digestive capacity because you're not digesting the food properly from a lack of acidity. Now remember, your body has to have calcium, potassium, and sodium in order to produce enough bile, in order to neutralize the acidity coming out of your stomach before it goes into the small intestine. And if you don't have those minerals in high enough concentration, you're not going to be able to produce enough alkalinized bile to digest your food properly, which is how you get energy from the food, is through the digestion process. So it's so important, guys, that you monitor your pHs. Like I said, if you're alkaline, you're probably constipated. And also, if you're constipated, you probably have a real problem with parasites. And so we have a really good parasite protocol on our website that helps get the worms out of your system. And chances are, if you have pets in your home, you probably have parasites. And in fact, when we had our laboratory set up and we had a clinic here in Central Florida, I worked with thousands of patients, sometimes as many as 40 people a day back in the 80s. I remember we had a parasite test kit that was relatively accurate, and we would test people's urine and test their system to see if they had parasites, and over 90% of the people we tested, Sheila, had parasites in their bodies, which is pretty accurate. I mean, most people don't even realize it. They have parasites, even if it's something even like candida or pinworms or hookworms or tapeworms in their system that's causing a lot of problems and releasing a lot of chemicals back into their bloodstream, which can also increase the risks of cancer. So guys, it's so important that you stay on a good, healthy protocol for your immune system. And we have a healthy immune system protocol that works very, very well at keeping your immune system at peak performance. Because guys, we're getting sprayed with biologicals, we're getting sprayed with all of this junk, we're getting sprayed with more gellins, we're getting sprayed with all kinds of stuff. And we're having all of this stuff that our body's having to fight off. So that's why it's so important that you're taking potassium iodide every day, at least 12.5 milligrams, critical for the immune system. You need to be taking vitamin D3, K2 every day. Never take D3 alone without K2. That's really, really important. We have really good acidophilus products at Health Masters, and they're in the billion count. You know, people are bragging that their acidophilus in the million counts. Our stuff's in the billion count because it's so strong. But it's the kind of stuff that you go, wow, this stuff is just amazing. Probiotic is like the acidophilus that you have on the intestinal tract. There's multiple strains of that. And if you have problems like with yeast infections, it's the best. Now, if you're taking digestive enzymes, that's completely different. They're one end of the digestive tract versus the other. the digestive enzymes work in the stomach. See, when you chew your food, it becomes what they call it turns into like a bolus or into chyme, and it goes into the stomach, and the stomach continues the digestion process using acid. Then it goes from the acidity of the stomach into the alkalinity of the small intestine. That's where the common bile duct comes in, because that bile is used to increase the pH from acidity back into alkaline, so your body can absorb the food. That's the problem that you have when your body's overly acidic. You can't produce enough bile to get this acidity neutralized, and that way the body has to move the stuff through your body very quickly because it's so acidic and it doesn't want to burn the intestinal tract. It goes from the small intestine into the large intestine. That's where the acidophilus is. The acidophilus is in that large intestine and helps manufacture B vitamins. And now we're finding out there's a direct connection in the interface from an interdimensional standpoint. This gets kind of spooky when you start talking about interdimensional physics, of the intestinal flora communicating with different parts of the body and how the body is completely interconnected through frequency. So the intestinal tract, the large intestine, is where the acidophilus and the probiotics are located, Sheila. That's why it's so important to take probiotics that can handle going through the acidic part of the stomach first before it goes into the large intestine. And that's what our products do. But I take my acidophilus supplement every single day. My digestive enzymes, we have several products that you can use for digestive enzymes. We also have a protein shake that I use every day, which has helped me to eliminate my need for digestive enzymes for acid reflux. And you remember, I'm in my 60s. I do great. I don't have to take any drugs whatsoever. I mean, I don't take, my blood pressure is like 110/65. My cholesterol is between 200 and 250, and I keep it there, by the way. I don't want it under 200. I could go lower if I wanted to. I don't want it under 200 because I want to keep my testosterone levels up to maintain lean muscle mass and keep my brain working. So there are all kinds of things that you've been told that's simply not true. There are all kinds of things that you can do to increase your energy levels and to feel absolutely great every single day of your life. Now, let me ask you guys a question. If you're 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight and you feel terrible, or 100 pounds or 200 pounds overweight and you feel terrible, do you really think doing what you've done to get to where you are is going to make any difference and you're going to get any better? It won't work that way. You've got to start making healthier choices when it comes to your lifestyle and to your diet, and then you can restore your health and get your vitality and you can rejuvenate yourself. And you can't do that with coffee. I mean, coffee increases the risks of breast cancer in women. It's unbelievably bad for women because of the methylxanthine component for coffee. It also increases the risk of different types of diseases, including high blood pressure. Coffee is an adrenal drain. Because remember, the caffeine doesn't have any nutrients. It's just a stimulant. It stimulates your body's own adrenaline, your adrenal system. And when that happens, you start running into what's called adrenal insufficiency, and you start tapping out your adrenal systems. That's why we also have another product for helping to rebuild your adrenal glands. And that's one of the reasons people get so tired, is because they drink so much coffee and so much caffeine on a regular basis, Sheila. It's simply not healthy to do that. We do have a green tea beverage. It's called the Purple Stick on our website. It has a small amount of caffeine in it, and it has a lot of B vitamins in it. And that's what I use that in the morning when I first get up, because we train in the morning. And I use that on an empty stomach to get my system kicked up. And then, we have our prayer time in the morning, then we go work out. And this is what I use in the morning, but I've gotten off the coffee a long, long time ago. 2 or 3 days on coffee, I get really irritable because the caffeine from coffee actually elevates cortisol level, which makes you store body fat, and it makes your sleep cycles get really messed up, because cortisol is what your body secretes in the morning to get you up to go eat something. And so when you have elevated cortisol in your body from the coffee from the day before, it may take 2 or 3 days, if you're over the age of 30, for your cortisol to come back to normal. And if you're drinking coffee every day, it never comes back to normal. And cortisol makes you store body fat and belly fat and cellulite, and it drains your adrenals, and it makes you tired all the time, and you just feel fatigued. That's why it's so important to get off the coffee and get on our Purple Sticks if you want to use a green tea beverage, because it's easy and it's quick in the morning, and it doesn't cause all these other side effects. It's like drinking alcohol, Sheila. People say, well, drink red wine. Well, because you get resveratrol. Well, you can take resveratrol supplements, and they don't tell you when you start drinking alcohol, you increase your risks of pancreatic cancer, liver cancer, cirrhosis of the liver, alcoholism, osteoporosis, and breast cancer. And the study that was done, the French paradox that was done, that was released some 20 years ago now, says if you don't drink, don't start, because the side effects of the alcohol are so bad from a health standpoint that it's not worth the little bit of benefit you get from the resveratrol. So guys, I've seen so many people start drinking alcohol on a daily basis, red wine, and they completely stop the enzyme production called lipase in the body, and they start getting really fat from it, and they get addicted to the alcohol because 10% of the population is genetically programmed to become addicted to alcohol if they start drinking it. It's not worth it. My mom drank way too much. My brother is an alcoholic. I thank God my dad never touched it because I have no interest in it. But guys, alcohol is the great liar. It is not good. I've never heard anyone say, Sheila, my life was a wreck and I started drinking and everything got great. I've never heard that. But I've heard so many people ruin their lives, ruin their companies, ruin their reputation, ruin their marriages, ruin so much because of alcohol. So, guys, it's one of those things you need to avoid as much as possible. Now, if you had an occasional glass of beer or a glass of red wine a couple times a year, I could absolutely care less. Smoking is a big deal. A lot of death rates associated with smoking. But then when you take a product like Chantix to get off the smoking, you massively increase the risk of suicide. So to me, I think you need to go cold turkey or use a nicotine patch. I would never recommend a product that has been linked to suicide when you stop smoking, for heaven's sakes. I mean, you live longer if you smoke rather than die in a week taking that mess. I mean, so it's one of those things, guys. You wear your seatbelt, you're really going to increase your life expectancy, all right? You stop smoking, you increase your life expectancy. But the truth is this. It's all these little things that you do on a regular basis, like eating the right kind of foods, like eating organic, staying away from the GMOs, staying away from the fluoride, staying away from the chlorine, staying away from the hydrogenated oil, staying away from pork and all pork products and soy products. Stay away from all of that stuff, and you'll be a lot healthier just doing that and drinking purified distilled water. If you don't hear anything else I tell you today, except for get a distiller, you've done well.
Yeah. Real quick, Ted, dairy products.
If they're raw, unpasteurized, and organic, they're okay. I don't recommend them unless you're a baby, and they should be getting goat's milk. You can drink the dairy products that are raw and unpasteurized if they're available for sale and legal in your area, or you can go, if you want to do it on the sly, you can do it, but I'm not recommending this. You can go to your feed store, find out who buys goat's feed or cow's feed, and ask them if they actually have milk. In some places, you can actually buy a percentage of ownership in a cow, and you can get raw milk. I'll never forget a few years ago, I was traveling in France, and we were in the back of in the countryside outside of Paris, and there was a stand on the side of the road with a big refrigerator and everything else that said raw cow's milk right there on the side of the road. And, it was great. I picked up a quart, split it with the kids. I drank it. They drank it. Everybody loved it. It was all organic. Loved it. So a lot of places that's legal. A lot of places it's not. I know the Amish, they use a lot of raw goat's milk and a lot of raw cow's milk, and they have like a 0 incidence of autism, but they also don't do any immunizations on their children, which have been massively linked to autism. So you really need to understand that this is not a game. I could do a whole show with you on the immunizations have been linked now definitively to autism. Yeah. But rather than do all that and take up a bunch of time, just go rent the movie Vaxxed, VAXXED, and watch it. If you have friends that are pregnant and they're basically about to have a baby and you want to try to help them with the thing with immunizations, don't try to force feed them information. Just say, will you watch a movie if I give it to you about childhood health? And 99% of the time, they'll say, sure, I'll watch it. And I've done that before. I actually buy the movie on Amazon. It's like $5.99. Have it sent to them Prime. They get it in 2 days. And then they say, wow, we want to thank you so much. We will never, ever, ever immunize. And we're going to buy this movie for all of our friends. That's the one that Robert De Niro pulled from the Treblinka Film Festival a few years ago because it was such controversial information, because the vaccine manufacturers, who are controlled by the Sabbatean Kabbalists, which you know and your listeners know that those folks very, very well, the Satan worshipers, they basically want to kill as many people as they possibly can and reduce the population of the planet as quickly as they can. And the MIT researcher from a few years ago said that by 2025, if the current trend does not change, 1 in 2 children will have autism. By 2035, all boys will have autism. And by 2037, all girls will have autism. If you want to reduce the population very, very quickly and destroy the population with a bunch of mass immigration from other cultures, make it so it's literally impossible for the indigenous population that's here now of Americans to reproduce. And that's what they're doing, Sheila. And they're doing it in a very, very fast pace because they know their time is short, because the internet, the new Gutenberg press, is exposing all of these clowns as to what they're doing and how they're doing it. So it's something that we all need to work together on, and that's why I wanted to come on your show today, Sheila. Now, we also have a coupon code for you, Sheila. If people will just go in and put Sheila5, they'll get a 5% discount on everything that you get from Health Masters. That's everything, Sheila5, and you can get some of these great products that we've talked about, and it'll allow you to save some money. And we support alternative radio, and this is one of the ways we do it. So if you like this show, if you like the Sheila Zilinsky show, or you like my show, and if you do that, my response is simply this: thank you very much. We appreciate the support, and without you guys listening, we simply wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't have the ability to do what we do without your help. That's how I look at that stuff, Sheila. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's the deal. People support a lot of these globalist companies I don't even set foot in Walmart. I know a lot of people buy their health products there, or they go to these GCNs and everything else. But folks, it's a no-brainer to take all the guesswork out of it and buy over at Health Masters. I buy products from Ted because he vets out all this stuff. I mean, who can make sense of rows and rows of things in your health food stores, etc.? It just makes more sense. Now, I'm really excited, Ted, because you're offering, and listen up, ladies, it's the Sheila's Ultimate Female Stack. There's a link there today on my website. You also get the 5% by putting in Sheila 5. So I really want to thank you for offering this to my listeners. That's for the females, but you also have one already for the guys. It's the, talk about that, Ted. What's for the guys?
It's called the Alpha Male Stack. Alpha Male Stack. The guys, if you're having a problem with libido and you want to run your libido up without taking Viagra, which has been linked to blindness and deafness, and you want to really start working out hard and stacking some body weight and some muscle weight back on your body, that Alpha Male Stack, we've been getting reports from all over the world on what an incredible product that is.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. Well, there you have it, fellas. So much good information on the show today, Ted. Now, in the last part of the show, because diet is so important, again, we talked a little bit about paleo, keto. You know, where do you start with your food? Walk us through a day in the life of Ted Broer. What are you eating? When are you eating it? Giving us an example of a day in the life of Ted.
Oh, I will. And also what I'll do, we've got the entire cookbook coming out, like with it, because the reality, everybody needs this cookbook. It's called Eat Clean and Be Healthy. It's got 150 recipes in it, so that'll be a lot easier for you guys to get and understand what we eat. But first thing in the morning I get up in the morning at around 6:30, and I take a purple stick with about 2,000 milligrams of powdered vitamin C in it. That's simple. Everybody can do that. The kids all come in around 7:30 in the morning, and we have prayer time. And after prayer time is over with, usually around 8:30, then I'll make a protein shake. And I've got like a dozen or so things that I put into my protein shake every single day, all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of oils and everything else we put into that protein shake. And I'll make that available. The protein shake's phenomenal, and it tastes great. It tastes great. And I'm not joking you, it really tastes great. And then what we'll do is we'll go to the gym, and then we'll work out. Now, in the meantime, I started at 6:30 already, prepping for my daily talk show, because as you know, doing a show on a regular basis, you've got to sort through hundreds, if not thousands, of junk things that you've got to try to figure out if they're true or not, to try to figure out how to put the proper information together. And since I do a show 5 days a week, I'm doing that. That takes 3 to 4 hours every single day of my day to do that. So I go work out, then I come back in, I have another snack, and then I do the show, then I have another snack, and then I basically hang out with the kids, and we do what we need to do at the house. And then I have another snack and I go to bed. I try not to eat after 6 to 7 p.m. every night. I find it easier just to help maintain my body weight if I don't eat late. And if I do eat late, if I'm really hungry, I'll have like a boiled egg or something like that, or maybe 2 boiled eggs, and that'll hold me all night. Now, I also put an oil in my product. It's a coconut oil. I use it every single day, which has really been shown to decrease the risks of Alzheimer's disease. It's a medium-chain triglyceride coconut oil, and I use about a tablespoon of that in my shake every day, and it really has no taste to it, but it really, really helps with mental acuity. I do all of this stuff every single day along with the acidophilus supplements that I use, and that's a typical day that I do. And, of course, other days we may have other things and other activities planned, and so we're always really, really busy around here. And so we've got one grandchild, another one on the way, and I've got 2 kids still at home, a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old. The 18-year-old's going off to law school in the fall. If you feed your kids the right foods and you don't poison their brains with mercury and aluminum and fluoride, it's amazing what they can do with their lives as far as the amount of mental acuity they have, the amount of reasoning skills they have, the amount of common sense they have, because you give them the tools they need from an intellectual standpoint to feel and look great and have maximum energy and performance and intellect all the days of their life. That's why Sharon wrote a book a few years ago. It's still available. I believe we have a few copies of it left at the office. It's called Train Up Your Children in the Way They Should Eat. And it talks about children's nutrition and how to have a super healthy child. And we also cover the immunizations in there and why vaccines are not immunizations and how there's all kinds of side effects to vaccines. You guys just need to watch that movie Vaxxed.
Yes, I agree, Ted. They got to get the movie Vaxxed for sure. Okay, so I want to recap kind of the main important things that we could take away from the show today. And I do hope you had your notebooks and pens, because I'm going to have to go back and re-listen to this myself. Boy, there was just so much information, but kind of the main points, Ted. So we kind of want to go by Ted's calorie thing at the beginning. We want to eat 6 meals a day. 2 to 3 hours apart. So again, your challenge is to drink at least half your body weight in ounces of water per day. Like you said, for example, someone who weighs 200 pounds, you'd be drinking 100 ounces of water a day, obviously 150, 75 ounces, and so on. And it doesn't mean all at once. It means throughout the whole day. Stay away from bottled water. Talk to Ted or order his distillation system. He himself and his family uses it. The price is really reasonable. So if you have any questions, talk to Ted about that. Ladies, if you want to lose some weight, look fantastic, and feel great, go to Ted's website and order Sheila's Ultimate Female Stack Kit. Ted just put that together. I ordered it, and I'm excited about it. So join me with that, ladies. He's giving it at a special price, plus you get an additional 5% off when you put in Sheila5, the coupon code. So I'm really excited about that. Let's talk, ladies, and see our results. And then, of course, it's got some great products over there for the male, the alpha male stack. We want to get on some really good probiotics. We want to get on some good digestive enzymes. Like you said, D3 and the K2 is kind of a must take. The potassium iodine. Of course, stay away from soy, period, end of story, not even open for discussion. Don't go near tofu, obviously soy-based tofu. Eat some good leafy greens. Get some kale and, like Ted said, some sweet potato. Get some quinoa in your diet. Some lean meat like turkey, fish, chicken breast, grill it, raw nuts, boiled eggs. Stay away from that bromide. Stay away from bread completely, I say, unless you're going like with a squirrely bread or something. Stay away from dairy unless it's raw and pasteurized. I actually prefer to drink unsweetened almond milk. Yeah, I'm deciding to now stay away from dairy completely. I'm really trying to get off coffee. Don't tell Ted I just said that. And you're really going to notice a difference in your pounds and your fat. Hey, speaking of fat burners, Ted, I really like your cinnamon extract product that I bought off you. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, those are primarily, they help to burn body fat, and they also help to really regulate adult onset diabetic sugar levels. This is what Doug Hagman did. Doug's sugars were close to 500, and he called me up and basically was about to be hospitalized, and we sent him up the entire blood sugar protocol. In fact, we named it after him. And I told him, I said, now, Doug, I said, you have to combine this with dietary change and exercise. You've got to do both, all three, dietary change, exercise, and you got to take the supplements. And the cinnamon extract is basically a insulin activator, because most of the time with adult onset diabetes, if they're suffering what they call from some syndrome X, and they have plenty of insulin in their bodies just can't utilize the insulin, and so they can't transport glucose across the cells, so their blood sugar gets sky high. And if you give them the cinnamon, it acts like a boot, and it kind of forces it to work, and it works very, very well for adult onset diabetics. Plus, you also have to be taking turmeric every day if you have a problem with high blood sugar. And then there's some other things that we have. There's a blood sugar protocol that we completely have on the website. You can go look at it. And it works really well. It really does. But again, it's not a panacea. You've got to be willing to get off the coffee. You've got to be willing to get off the high glycemic carbohydrates. You've got to be willing to get off the sugar and the high fructose corn syrup. And you've got to start taking responsibility for your own health and what you put into your body. Not everybody's going to eat clean all the time. I went to Costco today. This morning I was at Costco. And they had some basically organic sausage there that had no sodium nitrite in it. And I tried a couple different ones, and then I was going to buy 2 of them because they were really good. And there's no MSG, none of that stuff. And I looked at one of them, and the doggone casings were pork. I couldn't believe it. I thought, this is awful because I don't eat pork. But I ate pork today, and I don't really do any of that stuff ever intentionally because how bad pork is for you. If you go out and you're constantly eating things that the Bible says not to eat, then you're going to have problems, because God was very clear about his dietary guidelines. It has nothing to do with salvation. It has everything to do with health. And pork causes cancer, according to the World Health Organization and according to the Bible, when you eat unclean meats. So pork is one of those meats you need to completely eliminate and get out of your diet. That's what we have to understand that swine are. That's why they're forbidden meat according to the Old Testament. And quite frankly, I believe it's a principle that God gave us that we still need to realize today. If we want to stay healthy, we need to stay away from pork products, Sheila. And make sure you stay away from sodium nitrite, too. That's really, really important. And, again, stay away from the soy products, too. They're real bad. So those are your key things, again, that we've covered today with your listeners. And, and go to the website. I've written hundreds of articles on these different topics that you can read, that you can print for free and take a look at. Plus, we do have our Breakthrough Health book. That's still in inventory. Phenomenal book. It has like 50 chapters in it, and it talks about a lot of the things that we've discussed today in detail.
I love my bacon, but I quit doing it. So I'm doing turkey bacon, Ted.
That's right.
You'll be proud of me.
That's right. And that's what we eat. We don't not eat bacon. We just eat turkey bacon.
Yeah, exactly.
Without sodium nitrite. It's delicious. It tastes great. And see, the thing about it is, it's just when you get used to eating a different way, when you get used to eating clean and not eating all of this junk, it's not a diet anymore, Sheila. It's just the way you eat. And see, that's the thing that people have to get through their heads is that if you go on a diet, diets fail. Lifestyles don't fail.
Amen.
Lifestyles are something that you do for the rest of your life. This is how I live. This is how I eat. And if you do it that way, it makes a big, big difference as far as your energy and how you feel. That's why I'm 62 years old here in a few weeks, and I feel absolutely wonderful. And no, I haven't drunk coffee today. I mean, I just feel like this all the time. And you've known me for years, Sheila, and every time you've ever talked to me, I'm always like this. And so I just really believe that we are the temple of the Holy Spirit, the temple of God, and that we need to do what pleases Him. And we don't need to be putting a bunch of trash in the temple and thinking it's okay with God, because it's not.
Well, you just said it, Ted. It is a lifestyle. Now, very quickly, for new listeners that are not familiar with your stuff, give out your website one more time. And, of course, we're going to have the Ultimate Female Protocol on there today for the ladies. I really encourage the ladies to get on that. Oh, and by the way, give out also when we can expect to get your awesome new book, too.
The book is finished. I mean, it's right now. We just finished the cover design on it yesterday. It's going off to Versa Press to get printed, and it'll be back to us probably within 4 to 6 weeks. We'll have it available. It'll be here for Christmas. That's a fact.
Okay.
And we'll be promoting it on Hagman's show and your show, and so we're going to have fun with all that too. But go to healthmasters.com. Remember the Sheila 5 coupon. I'm going to give your listeners 5% off my entire website. And so we're going to do that on this initial offering with you to see what kind of response we can get to try to help generate revenue for you and for us and for all the alternative news people. And guys, I want to thank you again. Many of you are already buying multiple vitamins from Walmart or one of these big box stores that are coming out of China that are probably toxic on top of everything else. So, just getting your multiple vitamins from us, or your B vitamins, or your vitamin C, or your D3, it'll make a huge difference as far as funding alternative programming. So thank you so much in advance for doing that, because we love you guys and we appreciate you. And we want to be here for the foreseeable future, especially now that YouTube has decided to demonetize everything in the alternative.
Yeah, that's a fact. And that's really important, too, because we are getting censored. Well, Ted, it's always a pleasure. I just thank you for dedicating your life to really help people stay healthy. It's so important nowadays with us being bathed in a toxic soup of all things. And no matter what you eat, guys, pray over your food. Praying over your food's important. Prayer is important. What you put in your temple is important. Get off the fad diets, the yo-yo diets, lose 40, gain 50. Forget about all that. As Ted says, this is a lifestyle. We need to just make good eating our lifestyle. And we really appreciate you, Ted, and how you laid this all out today. Thank you so much for coming on the show, sir.
Oh, thanks, Sheila. I appreciate it. And also remember, when you go to healthmasters.com, you can also sign up for our newsletter. And it's free of charge, and we'll send you all the latest health updates that we discover all over the world, and you'll love the newsletter. So God bless you guys. And Sheila, thanks again for having me on.
Thank you, Ted. Folks, that was Dr. Ted Broer, of course, healthmasters.com. Ladies, again, just a reminder, go to the protocol, drop down, get on Sheila's Ultimate Female Stat Kit. That's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's results. And this goes to everyone. Use promo code Sheila5 and take 5% off the already very reasonable prices there today. That's healthmasters.com. And if you have any questions, just get a hold of Dr. Ted. Well, we're out of time today. We have a fantastic lineup next week. It's the new website launch, and I'm really excited about that. I hope you like it as much as I do. I really like it. And guess what? It's on a great server, so there's not going to be any more glitches and issues. And that part I'm really looking forward to. We'll see you next week. Good night, and God bless.